Okay, let's try to start. So, hi everyone, I'm Linda, and welcome to this webinar. This webinar is all about how to start your private practice in a week. I'm going to share my screen. So, this is a pretty interactive session. Usually, this is recorded. So, if you don't want to be on the recording, you can just mute yourself and also um, not mute your camera, but just stop your camera on your end. Otherwise, you'll be YouTube famous. And we are going to, let me just share my screen. So you can always chat in the chat box. I usually say you can just shout out. When I'm sharing my screen, I can't really see the questions coming through. So you can shout out. But if we start running out of time, because I'm going to try and talk really, really fast, if we start running out of time, then I will pause the questions and then take the questions at the end. So so hopefully everyone can see me and hear me. I'm sharing my screen now. And you can see my screen. If you just thumbs up or just say yes in the chat, or just let me know if you can't see me or hear it. Yeah, excellent. I can see some thumbs going up. So let's kick off. Brilliant. So there's a lot of you on here, and it just basically shows everybody's mindset. Everyone's looking towards starting up something for yourselves, and that's really, really positive. Also, I forgot to say Happy New Year. Gosh, the time just flies. We're like the 8th of January already. Where has the time gone? So Happy New Year to everyone, and let's do a whistle stop tour through private clinics. So what we're going to cover today, let me just minimize this because I can see. Yeah. So what we're going to cover today is a little bit about us, a little bit about ThanksDoc and how we work. We work in two ways. We have an Uber for doctors model, which is like a doctor on demand model, and we also have like a private clinics model. But we're one and the same. We're still the same company. Why now? Why is this the right time to start your private clinic? We're going to talk about private clinics and some of our cohorts. We're now on to cohort 3. So we actually launched in when did we get our CQC? In August last year, and we've had 2 cohorts coming through. And so now we're on to cohort 3. And at the end, I can take questions. But if you have any burning questions, then just shout out. I like to be really interactive because actually the sound of my voice just bores me. So there are a few like catchphrases. There are a few times I'll ask for your participation. So yeah, just feel free to chime in. So who are we? So we're the only digital and physical doctor on demand service in the UK. So there's a lot of digital, so online doctor on demand services, but we're the only physical one. And how we do this is that when a patient requests a doctor, we can see the patient at a pharmacy or a clinic near them. And it's all done. It's really, really clever. And I can't take uh, what's the word? Sorry. When it gets a bit late, I get a bit tired and my words start to slur. So I can't take credit for it because actually we have a really, really good tech team who know all the tech and how it works. And it's all like geolocation. So that's how that we can do both digital and physical doctor on demand service. So what we do, first we match doctors to businesses who need doctors. So we're a business to consumer company. And we also, I phrase it as give practice and privileges to GPs. So GPs can work with us under our CQC in order to open private practices, so ThanksDoc private practices. So what do we really do? So we really want to empower GPs to work flexibly and be valued. We want to create the largest network of primary care specialist clinics. So we've had a lot of people onboarding onto our platform, and we're just going through the GP's compliance. But actually, what we think there's a lot of burnout within general practice. A lot of people are escaping to Australia or to Canada. And actually, we want to keep our GPs here in the UK. And the way we can do that is just to provide an alternative way of them working. So who am I? So I'm a GP. My name is Linda. I CCT'd in 2017. So gosh, that's nearly 10 years. I can't believe it. And I've done a lot of roles. So I've always dabbled in business. I think I was a bit of a strange medical student because actually when I was at med school, I went to med school in Norwich. People were getting like food parcels shipped to them, and I was getting like I don't know, mobile phone battery chargers from China shipped to me, and I was selling them on eBay, on Amazon. So I've always been a little bit in business, and I've done properties. I've actually helped clinics start up and done clinic consultancy. That includes like IV, so that's intravenous, like nutrition therapy clinics. I've done a CPD course, and I used to do cosmetic formulation. I was a GP supervisor, I think 6 months after CCTing. So I was like actually teaching my peers, which was a bit random. I had a skin clinic in Harley Street, and I also help estheticians and beauty therapists start up their own clinics. So it's almost the same model that I'm doing with them. I'm actually doing it with the GPs. And I always say it's really good to dabble in a lot of things because it's all about learning. And I say fail fast and fail forward. That's my motto because you always learn. Um, oh, there's a bit of drawing on my. There's a bit of, I don't know what's happened. Yeah, so you always learn from your I say mistakes, but you always learn from your experiences. So you can see here that I had you can see it up in the top right hand corner. I had a cosmetics company, so I was actually treating, it's called Bain Skincare. I was actually treating a black and ethnic minorities, so basically black and brown skin types. Then I launched my courses, and I was teaching people. So I had the only course in the UK that taught people how to do chemical peels on darker skin types. I've done charity work, I've done elective work, I've done clinical trials. So I basically dabbled in everything. I've used all of that knowledge to help me just put towards building ThanksDoc with my current team. So how do we work? I'm not sure why there's writing on this screen. Drag to move. We're just gonna have to ignore it for now. I think it's something in the settings that I must have allowed people to write on the screen. So ignore the scribble. So as I mentioned, that we work in two ways. We're not really going to go into the Uber doctors model. We're going to go into the private clinic model. So when you join our private clinic membership, you actually get automatic acceptance onto the Uber doctors model. So you can start seeing patients through that platform as well. So basically, you can launch your own private clinic under our CQC governance and infrastructure, but there are limited availability because we have a quota every month, so we can't really exceed that quota. So it's basically first come and first serve, and we help you to get up and running in a week. And we're going to go through how we can do that. 1 second. I'm not sure. We've got our tech team, Chuck, here. Chuck, are you able to just see how you can get the scribble off the screen? Well, I think it was Shiva. I don't know whether you can press undo on your side, just so there's not scribble throughout the whole of the presentation. So I think it was like the annotate. So just have a look into that. Okay. So why are we doing this? Because GPs are doing this. Okay, and this is a bit of a catchphrase. So who's young enough to remember catchphrase? And you can just shout out what are GPs doing now because the climate is changing. Everyone is burnt out. There's this sort of online consultation, like online access model from 8:30 to 6:30. There is lots of different things happening, and really, like the pressure is getting too much. The number of patients are increasing, number of GPs are decreasing, and we all know what's going on. But the GPs are doing this. So what is this? You can see some responses in the chat.
Burying head in the sand.
Exactly. Yes, exactly, Shiva. Burying their head in the sand like it's not happening. And it is happening whether you like it or not. So yeah, that's why we're doing this. You can see like the news headlines in terms of practices forced to hire staff to manage more online consultations. Salary GPs are facing contractual changes. And what is really worrying is actually a third of GPs plan to quit patient care in the next 5 years. And that's actually really, really scary. And I've spoken to GPs, and there's a few GPs on our cohort that have been doing this for 20 years, 30 years. They've never seen it like this before. And, those GPs, I feel like, they've seen what's happened, with elections and different governments and like things that are coming and going, but they said they've never seen it before. And, the level of burnout is it's just crazy. You can see thousands of GPs struggling to find enough work, and that's happened when the R scheme came in. So I know a lot of you were familiar with the additional Rose reimbursement scheme, where actually the funding for to high GPs was sort of red taped, and you could basically hire everybody but GPs, or even the GPs that have just qualified in the last two years. So a lot of the locums, including myself, were unemployed and underemployed, and even the salaries and the pay was decreasing rapidly. So when I CCT'd in 2017, I remember like the average your hourly rate was about £90 per hour, £100 per hour, but then it sort of decreased until 75 per hour. Somebody even said something like 65 or £60 per hour. And it just, yeah, it wasn't not a good place to be in, because we just see actually the GPs are demotivated. They don't want to work, but actually the lack of jobs, they're being forced to take these kind of really reduced rates. And you can also look into what's happening in the world of pharmacy. So some people may be aware that actually there's this first five. I think it was basically similar to minor ailment scheme, but actually the government is pushing that if you have sort of some minor ailments, rather than going to your GP, you should go to your pharmacy first. So that was the pharmacy first scheme. And so they're more transitioning into clinical services. And this year, all of the pharmacists that are qualifying come out automatically with ability to prescribe. That didn't happen before. So usually, they'll be checking out prescriptions, etc. Otherwise, they'll do extra courses in order to be able to prescribe, or they'll do prescriptions under like a patient group directive. But now, actually, all of the pharmacies qualifying will be able to prescribe. So you have to basically think, well, why is this happening? What is happening? So rather than put your head in the sand, it is happening, and think, okay, where does that leave us? You can see here, a rise in patients per GP. So I think since, when it's the 2016, I think there's been about 500 patients extra per GP. So rather than being about 1,700, it's about 2,300. That's a phenomenal amount. So the number of GPs aren't increasing, but the number of patients they're becoming more and more complex. Change in GP pay. So you can actually see GP pay is just downhill trend. So GPs, when you sort of look at it and adjust it in terms of inflation, GPs aren't being paid that much. Really, the GP pay is declining. Record low satisfaction with NHS GP services. So when they do their kind of the patient service surveys, they can see that actually patients are not that satisfied. And you can see here, a lot of patients are going towards private care. I think it was like 1 in 7 patients have private care now. I know, between myself and my sisters, so in my family, I'm the only person that doesn't have private healthcare. So that's like 3 sisters and my mum. They all have private healthcare. So that says something. And we're not from a posh family or higher earners, and I think patients are just opting for private care because they just can't get through the GPs or access the services they need. So how are we doing this? So how can we do this as the only company in the UK? Number one, we need overall governance. So in order to do this, and actually I like people questioning me because it makes me think okay, have I made sure I've covered things? And I think when you go with other companies, because there are definitely other companies offering us similar services, but when you actually start to do due diligence, and we come onto a slide about due diligence a bit later on, you need to ask them certain questions. So number one, when we go through our CQC, they always make sure that actually we have governance of everybody. So, we have, I think we're aiming for about 5,000 GPs on our platform, and we have around 5,000 on our wait list. And we're going through the compliance slowly but surely we're getting there. But we need to be able to have overall like oversight of everything that's written in the patient records, all the prescriptions, pathology, radiology, policies, everything. So you have to have a system that covers everything. Also, indemnity and insurance are notoriously high in this industry. I think the rate I was quoted when I actually wanted to start up my private practice just by myself, not as ThanksDoc, I think it was about £1,200 a month, and that was based on 6 sessions a week. So actually, it was actually quite high for private practice. And actually, when you first start, you don't actually get that many patients. So you have really, really high overheads, especially indemnity and insurance. So like public liability insurance, employers insurance, cyber security insurance. There's loads of different insurance that you need to have when you have a private practice, especially if you're online as well. We use sort of online sort of patient record system. You have to have lots of different other insurance, not just indemnity, and these can really be quite high, and that puts a lot of people off. But because we have the numbers and the scalability, we've been able to negotiate very low rates with some of the indemnity and insurance providers. And the technology, as you can see, I can't even get the scribble off my screen, so I'm not really like that tech savvy. But we've got a really, really good tech team, and I really lean heavily on them. They are ready round the clock, 24/7, 365. And you need to have a tech team when you're running a tech-enabled business. And that's why we can do that, because I'll show you on my other screens as well. Oh, Fatima, I think you're on. You have to mute yourself. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. So you have to have a tech team, especially when you're using a tech-enabled when you're building a tech-enabled platform. So that's how we can do this as the only company in the UK. So, for example, we've had to build our own electronic patient records, and there's lots of features embedded, because when you're going through CQC, and when you're part of our membership, we'll take you through, okay, what we were asked you in CQC, because we actually want you to start with us, but then fly the nest and go it alone when you feel confident. So we'll say, actually, whichever platform that you're choosing, just make sure that there's clinical oversight. So, and also a way to contact GPs. You always usually have to keep GPs in the NHS GPs in the loop. A way that scripts are processed and make sure that they're sent to accredited pharmacies and what to look out for. Make sure that pathology is also always overseen. Similar in NHS. So if there's like, I don't know, potassium of 8, you make sure that actually if somebody's on holiday, there's somebody else that it can have access to that patient's, to that doctor's inbox, where all the pathology and radiology results come through, just so that actually any urgent results are acted upon, and not when the doctors come back from holiday. So all of these things are really important, and you always have to be able to do monthly audits, 3 monthly audits, or whatever it is, yearly audits, just to make sure that you're always improving in your services. So that's super important, especially from a CQC point of view. So with us, you can actually see that we have our policies, and they're shared and they're accessible. So even if you're not coming with us, if you're going to do your due diligence, so it's very important to ask whichever company you're going with, okay, do you have access to your policies? And it's not just like an email, because an email is like, you don't get the most updated policies, and we're updating all the time. I think we're on contract version 5 or something, because we're always updating, and we're always just double checking what's best practice. So always make sure that whether you're with, you have access to their policies, and that's all the time. And we always put like the price list. I've sort of grayed out some of the prices here, but we don't make we don't take a fee for things that you request, like MRI or imaging or pathology, etc. That's all up to you. So, but you have to understand, like you have to be aware of the prices that the third parties charge, in order to then put a fee on top of it, whether it's the fee includes consulting and reading back the results of the patient. So we make sure that actually we're very transparent, and we put all our prices on our policies portal, so we're all on the same page. This is the bane of all our GPs' lives, the compliance. We have 22, I think it's now 24, 22 different compliance documents. And this is what the tech team worked on, because actually, when you're managing about 5,000 GPs, you don't want to be looking manually every day to see what has expired. So we have this compliance system that goes through like an automatic expiry. So you input the date, and then you can you'll know when your certain certificates or certain training has expired, and then it will boot you off the platform and just say, can you update this compliance, and then you can be back onto our platform. So that's really what helps us manage this process. And we have our ThanksDoc EHR platform. So this is just like a screenshot of what our platform looks like. So you can create medical records, you can create appointments, you can bill the patient, so send invoices. You can upload like lab reports. I think there you can put alerts to the patient for vulnerable patients, or for aggressive patients, or whatever it is. So we have quite a robust electronic health patient record, and we had to build this because otherwise we weren't scalable. Some of the really good patient record platforms, and even the leading one, I won't name names, but they are coming out about £179 per month plus VAT. And sometimes it's a rolling contract, sometimes it's a minimum of 12 months. So actually that's quite a large overhead, especially when you've just started. And that's why we had to incorporate our own electronic health records. Even in our prescribing, so I think this is my account where I've done the Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse patients. So I always have to check, and how we have governance and make sure that actually we're safe in what we're doing is that with our prescribing partners, so everyone prescribes on the same platform, so you can prescribe, but actually the patient can get the medication dispensed from any pharmacy of their choice around the UK. So you can either send it electronically to any pharmacy of your choice. You can send it to our partner pharmacy, who then dispenses it and sends it to the patient's home address. But with our platform, we don't want we don't want any sort of GPs going rogue and prescribing weird and wonderful drugs and very risky drugs. So actually, at this the prescribing level is actually stopped. So same with EMIS. Um, if something's not on the formulary, you can't actually physically prescribe it, and that's how we get around that, because we have to do, obviously we trust the GPs, but we need also reassurance that there's not the odd GP that might be doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and that's kind of how we manage that. And we have a tech team. So our tech team is definitely, is in-house, and they're building for us all day, every day. But they're also helping GPs with their websites. So some GPs want to get up and running straight away, and the tech team helps build their website in a week. Because the worst thing is getting bogged down with things that are not in your sort of specialty in your domain. So, and our tech team, they have really good rates. I think off the top of my head, there's a website. Maybe Chuck, you can put the website in the chat. But I think they are charging £750, and they will do like something like I don't know, 5 or 6 page website, but includes services, booking, etc. And that's up and running in a week. And so you can see when Chuck puts the website in, you can see some of the websites that they've built. They're like, you just want something that is simple, patients can find you. They've all got the WhatsApp integrated, because that's how patients like to contact us. And actually something that's just very simple, but does the job. I think when I started, I think, with my other businesses, I did trial and test lots of different website designers, and some of them are very, very expensive. Starting price is about 1,500 for a website, and sometimes it's luck of the draw on who you get. You can get good websites, or sometimes you can get not so good websites, and then you're stuck. So our tech team can help you with that. Okay, so our private clinic platform. How do we work? Okay, so you can work with us to get your clinic up and running. We say in a week, but this is so when you first sign up with us, we kind of give you a 2 week leeway where you can get all your compliance done, because there's 22 documents. We know that you have to send off your references, and upload your GMC certificate, and upload whatever, and even apply for medical indemnity. So it's not something that you pay for separately, but you still have to apply for it through our sort of corporate scheme, just to make sure that they check you and they make sure that everything is kosher. So you still have to do a few bits and bobs, but once this compliance is done and you've got your website up and running, you're good to go. So you come under our CQC for regulated activities, because what you're really doing is helping, launching ThanksDoc clinics, but sort of with your marketing wrapper. So that's how we can manage that, and that's how we can stay compliant. So you get clinic support. Some people want to do physical clinics, so have a location. And I say, actually, there's no point trying to get a venue or build something, or store something and have it sign contracts for a year. It's better just to have a place where you can just rent out a room for an hour or 2 hours, or whenever you need the clinic space. So we work with partner pharmacies that are happy to hire out clinic rooms and clinic locations near you. Otherwise, we just say go to your nearest pharmacy and just ask them, do you have a consultation room? A lot of them do, because they do blood pressure and flu jabs and all of these things. So a lot of them do have consultation rooms, and they're happy to hire it out. And even in central London, the prices are like £15 an hour, £20 an hour, which is really all you need when you're starting up. Some people also just negotiate like a free clinic room. So they'll say, okay, can I have your clinic room for free if I actually advertise sort of your services, or I can send the prescriptions to you. So it just depends on how you work with the pharmacy. So again, I mentioned the electronic medical record software that's included, the electronic prescribing software that's included, consent forms, website and patient booking platform. So the patient booking platform is through us, so that's included. And the website, you can either build your own, or you can go through our tech team, so it's depending on what you prefer. And then we work with partners so we're already set up with radiology, pathology labs, hospital consultants if you need to refer onwards. We're in partnership with like Moorfields Eye Hospital, HCA, and even like I think one of the GPs came on, was it in November when we done our last webinar to talk about urgent care, and they have really phenomenal services in their private urgent care. So even with someone who comes in with chest pains, and not that we promote it, but they can deal with it. And sometimes some patients want to avoid A&E as much as possible, and some of these urgent care centres are co-located with A&E. So yes, they can get seen very quickly in the urgent care centres, and then the GP then refers into the hospital directly into the specialty. So let's say, I don't know, it's an ectopic pregnancy and the patient comes in with abdo pain and, the GP just diagnoses it in the urgent care centre. And then they call in directly into the gynae team on call who takes the patient. So they don't have to sit there in A&E waiting to be triaged and assessed, etc. So that's almost like a roundabout way through to the NHS hospitals, but via sort of a private urgent care centre. So when you come on board with us, we do weekly Zoom meetings for the first 4 weeks. So once a week for the first 4 weeks for about an hour and a half. And this just goes through different things. I think I sort of touched on what we go through a little bit later. So we say open your own private clinic in 3 easy steps. So is register, and there are fees associated. And I think I don't mention the fees on the webinar, but I'm going to write it in the chat box. And that's only because this is being recorded. And some people say, oh, but on this month you said it was this price, and then it's increased to this price. So that's why I don't actually mention it. I do put it in the chat box, so people are aware of what we charge. And I don't have it actually coming up on the webinar. But if you wanted to know more, of course you can WhatsApp me, you can call me, and I have our details on the last slide. So first it's going to be register, and then upload your compliance documents. Thirdly, get a website, and then you're good to go. And that's how easy it is. And we just want actually GPs to be able to do this, because actually there's a high barrier to entry. And when we done a survey, I think of about 50 GPs, do you want to do private practice? And they said yes. Okay, what puts you off? And they said CQC, the cost of it, and the complexity of it. So we wanted it to be very simple. We wanted to offer it for low cost, and we wanted to be able to manage the sort of the compliance and the regulations for our GPs. Okay, so this is our first lovely cohort, and they're a really, really good cohort. They just kind of went for it. So I think they onboarded in September or October, can't remember. And they did like a variety of clinics, and they're using our platform to even pivot. So some people actually launched doing one thing, let's say functional medicine, and they realize actually that's not hitting home. Patients are not booking in, and then they'll pivot and try to do something else. And that's what our platform is for. And it's also for you trying to understand where you fit. You might start off doing one thing and then realize actually I don't really enjoy doing that. All I enjoy doing is weight management. And you can completely pivot. So there's lots of services. So menopause management, weight management, private online services, testosterone replacement, loads of different ADHD diagnoses. So they're all specialist interests. So they all come under the remit, of a GP. But a lot of these GPs have specialist interests or are working on different specialist interests. This is our second cohort. So they're sort of kind of going through the process now, ready to launch. And they've really, really got good ideas. So we've got a sort of prenatal care and postnatal care. We've got weight management, diabetes care. So no, they're really, really a great punch, and they're just sort of taking the bull by the horns and running with it. Okay, so what actually happens once you've onboarded? So yeah, you get 4 weekly masterclasses, and that covers topics like marketing, because actually we know the GPs, we're good at what we do, so we're good clinically, and a lot of the GPs, when I talk to them, I'm asking them, okay, so what do you want to do? And they'll, go off on one. They'll literally they're so passionate about what they do, and they're specialist interest, and they read all the papers around it. So there's no issue clinically, but when it comes to marketing and even pushing your services, that's where the issues come in. I think the GPs are not good in self-promotion. We've never really had to do it. We've gone from medical school to having our first job, like F1 and F2 job. there for us, and then going into training. We've never really had to interview. We've never really had to, promote ourselves, and we've never really had to get patients. So everything is there. Like you'll see even on Google, the NHS practices that are rated, 1 out of 5, they still have 10,000 patients in that practice. So, regardless of how good you are, you're still getting patients in NHS. But private practice is a whole different ball game. So yeah, so we teach you all about marketing. We have people that actually work in marketing. So we have outside agency that we recommend that can actually come and help you and sometimes just do the marketing for you. Otherwise, we'll tell you, sort of simple things on in terms of how to start. So I'm just watching time. I think I'm good on time. I'm racing through it, and I'm sounding like I'm so breathless, like I've run a marathon because I'm trying to speed through it. So I've got I'm giving you guys time for questions. And then we go through a masterclass in terms of our platforms, like how to use our platforms and websites. Somebody called it website roasting, but I promise you, it's not website roasting. It's actually just going through websites and giving like positive feedback, or sometimes or ways that you can improve. Because sometimes it's a bit strange with us. Like we we create websites. A lot of the GPs that I've seen when they create websites, you kind of do it subconsciously, but you almost create websites like you're creating it for other doctors. Sometimes you're like, I'm this GP, and then you list all of like your accreditations, which are basically letters, which don't mean anything to patients. And so you talk in sometimes like medical jargon, and sometimes patients just kind of want simple lay language. So that's why we kind of go through the websites and be like, okay, so where would patients book? Like, is there a CTA? Is there a call to action to say actually book now, book here, speak to me here? Even sometimes we tell them, oh, avoid this, like avoid putting logos, because yes, we know that you're part of like RCGP, and part of the GMC, etc. But you can't put those logos on your website, otherwise you'll get into a lot of hot water because you're using people's intellectual property on your website, which is basically you're almost kind of associating them or claiming and indirectly misleading patients that you're associated with these platforms. So some people even put their university on their websites, and that's like a big no-no because your university doesn't necessarily um, give a thumbs up for you doing like weight loss uh, um, weight loss services. GMC is not gonna you know say yes, we're associated with this GP and we basically are happy with them providing ADHD services. So you just have to be careful. And sometimes people do things out of not knowing. So it's almost like from a place of ignorance, but ignorance doesn't excuse you when it comes to things like this, because some people, especially other third parties, other companies, they can be very vicious when it comes to like competition, and they can take you out with just one kind of tiny thing you do on your website. So you just have to be careful. And that's kind of what we are there for in terms of helping you and supporting you when you're just starting. So, so yeah, in terms of what actually happens, sorry, I went off on a tangent there. So you get your indemnity, you complete your compliance. So that's kind of your GMC, your appraisal, like you just kind of upload all of these certificates, your Statman training. So, that's got learning disabilities and moving and handling and, rationalization, all of those things. Once you've completed compliance, you get all your logins to all the different platforms. So you get your logins for your patient records, the electronic health records, prescribing platform, laboratory, so pathology platform, and also radiology. Excuse me. And then you have, of course, access to our policy portal, so you can go through our policy. So it's things like safeguarding policies. It could be things like you have to put the whistleblowing policy up there. You have to put loan working policy. So all of our policies will be on our portals. And plus you get the community support. So you'll get, you're in the WhatsApp group with the other GPs. You're in this cohort with, it could be up to 20 GPs, but you all have each other to lean on. And that's so important when you start up because you're entering the unknown. And a lot of the time you just want to just bounce ideas off somebody else and think, oh, what do you think about this? Or can we just meet up for, can we just also do a webinar together and just kind of brainstorm? So yeah, it's really like important that you have people going through it with you. Okay, this one is quite an overwhelming slide in terms of things we cover. It looks like a lot, but really I'm just like, okay, look at the highlighted pink. So basically what you need to get up and running is just like a price list, understand the services that you're offering, get your website. We sort out the partnership. So it's not really that much, but we do cover other things like social media handles. So if someone's got like a really good name, even before I launched, not saying that my name's like excellent, but with ThanksDoc is quite easy to copy. So I had to make sure that I actually had my social media handles before I actually launched, and I had it trademarked and etc. Have you got a telephone number? A lot of people just like to pick up the phone and call you or WhatsApp you. They don't really like to fill out forms, these contact us forms. It's very annoying. So it's very important that you have a direct access in terms of how patients contact you. Maybe you want to do offers or introductory offers. When I first started, when I was getting my first patients for my clinic in London, my skin clinic, I actually was doing free webinars, and two of our students have actually partner students, they call them, two of our GPs or our members have actually partnered, and they've done a really, really good webinar yesterday on menopause and skin health, but like functional skin health. It was super interesting, and actually it's very important. They listed it on Eventbrite. It's important because actually patients sometimes don't book you unless they know you and trust you and think, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. So actually, I launched doing a webinar similar to this one, and there must have been, I don't know, about 40 people that came to that webinar. I was just talking about skin and how to treat skin of color, and from that I got, say, I think about 7 bookings. So, just doing small things that can help you. And that's the sort of thing that we go through on with our memberships and our classes. Okay, so things that you can do under our CQC. So online consultation. So it covers us for online consultations, in-person consultations, home visits, anywhere in England, any age, GP related clinics, and only GP. So some people say, oh, I've got a nurse prescriber, I've got a pharmacy prescriber. Our indemnity only covers GPs. I think, and I think it's just because I'm very simple, and I don't know how other healthcare professionals are regulated and what their compliance is. And I've just started, so I thought, let me just keep it simple, let me just go with what I know. And that's why actually it's GP related clinics. And as generalists, that can be in any different direction that you want to take it. And it also covers aesthetics and IV drips. I think need to be under CQC. So that's vitamin drips, so they need to come under CQC as well. So we cover everything aesthetics and everything GP related. Things you can't do. So I put describe dodgy or risky drugs because our platform just stops you. So even if you wanted to do it, you couldn't do it. So we don't prescribe. I think it's Schedule 1 to 4 drugs. So there's the Z drugs like morphine, codeine, any of the drugs that are open to abuse, any of the drugs that are you can get dependence from. So we don't, and on our policies, it will tell us, I think even on our terms and conditions and on our website, it'll tell you what drugs we do and don't prescribe. And I think it's because we're quite restricted. In some cases, we can make allowances, so some of the ADHD drugs, but these are for GPs on our platform that have actually gone through ADHD training. We've seen their certificates. So it's not like we can't prescribe them, but we don't prescribe them just because of the volume of GPs that we have. And we'll rather keep it be safe than sorry. So yes, if you're starting an ADHD clinic and some of these drugs, you can see that we don't prescribe them on our website. If you've actually done the training and you feel very confident and you've had the experience, then we can have a talk about it and just make sure that we can do that safely. So also with CQC, it's only in England, so we don't do it in Ireland, Scotland, or Wales, or anywhere else yet. I put that yes, maybe give it a couple of years and we will expand to those areas. Only GPs on our platform, and also no secondary care type services. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Some people are thinking of doing, I don't know, like not like call move, you can do it as a GP, but there's some secondary care, you don't want to be doing, I don't know, endoscopy in like a back of a pharmacy consultation room. So no secondary care type service, is only like GP services. Okay, due diligence. So I've got this like a buyer beware warning. So whenever you're looking at a company, so there's lots of companies they're sort of selling consultations. Sometimes I feel it's a bit far fetched because they might say, "Oh, okay, £5,000 and we can hold your hands through you setting up your own clinic." And I thought, that doesn't sound really fair. But actually, what we are offering is for you to get up and running. Okay, so it's almost like we're helping you, so you can launch your own clinic under us, but it's a ThanksDoc partnership clinic. So make sure if you're looking for other services or looking at other services, you could ask them, do I have access to your policy? If they say no, already that's a definitely like a red flag. Have a look at their policies or ask them about it. Ask them about, okay, their locations, because when you register with CQC, sometimes the locations are registered, or if you're registered as a mobile service, that has to be somewhere in the CQC. So you have to actually ask them, okay, where can I practice? Can I actually practice online? 1 second. I'm getting a bit dry. Okay, so also look at their GDPR policy, terms and conditions, loan working policy, like infection control. So you can have a look at them or ask them about it. They might not want to, especially if you're not signed up with them, they might not want to show you everything, but at least you can kind of gauge kind of where they are in terms of compliance. Because, as you know, some people say like ignorance is bliss, but it doesn't stop you from having enforcement of you onto you. Because you just didn't know. Okay, because especially like GPs were held to a higher standard, and they simply won't take, I didn't know, as an excuse. So make sure that actually you do your due diligence when you're going with certain companies, and that's why I'm very transparent. I'll show everybody everything. You'll have access to policies, and I'm happy to answer questions. Are very accessible. So make sure that actually when you're looking at a company to go with, if you're not going it alone, then answer them these questions. Look at their clinical governance, so like audit, prescribing. There's some companies that offer practicing privileges, like the private hospitals. I don't know how though, because sometimes they don't actually have access to your patient records. So some private hospitals, yes, you can get practicing privileges, but I don't know how they can audit you or they can check on terms of what you're prescribing, etc. Because a lot of the doctors have individual. Oh, what have I put here? I'm not sure what's happened. I pressed something. I'm not sure. So a lot of the doctors have actually their individual electronic health records with just their own login. So there's no way that that company can have oversight of what they're writing, what they're prescribing. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but I don't know, maybe CQC could ask them. They're actually quite good at getting back to people. Okay, so costs. This is really important because this is sort of what goes through everybody's head. How much would it cost me? And you have to always think about there's upfront costs and there's monthly ongoing costs, recurring costs. So with CQC, there is a registration fee. Usually it's about, I don't know, 1,800, 1,500. It just depends on what you're offering. The more locations you have is the higher the price. The more different services or regulated activities you have is the higher the price. But actually, CQC has um, a page on how much it will cost you. So if you just go on their website, cqc.org, whatever it is, you'll see actually the prices of and how much it will cost you. Policies and templates and SOPs. So these can be quite high. There's a lot of private companies that can help you with this, but they are charging from £2,000 to £5,000. I even got a quote of £50,000. I nearly fell off my chair, and that was literally just for the policies. Um, Premises. So I've always mentioned that, like, just start off renting a room somewhere. It's really actually quite hard to own your own premises. My friend who started her aesthetics clinic, and it was good. Like she went for it. She's a nurse, and she went for it. And actually, she thought, okay, she'll just pay the landlord like the monthly rent, but she didn't actually realize that the business rates were actually more than the monthly rent. The business, because it was somewhere in London, so the business rates were higher than the monthly rent. So all of these things that you just don't know are what catches you out. And we've had GPs open and within 6 months they're closed just because the overheads are way too high and it's just unsustainable. Can I just double check with Chuck? Can you see this timer thingy? I don't know whether it's just me that can see it or okay, you can just put it in the chat so I know. If you can see it, just put it in the chat. If not, then I'm just going to continue. It's just probably me. I've just pressed something random. Okay, so insurance. So in indemnity, I bought here like 3,000 a year. It's definitely not 3,000 a year. Remember the time before the Crown indemnity came on? We were paying something. I think I was paying like 10,000 a year for my locum indemnity. So it's around that figure. I mentioned to you guys that actually I was quoted 1,200 um, a month, and that was based on 6 sessions or 6 hours a week. I don't think it was 6 sessions; it was 6 hours a week. So it was 24 hours a month. So it's actually quite high. So it's definitely not 1,500. And then you have to think about the other insurance, so public liability and all the rest of it. Admin and booking system, you can be paying around 50,000, sorry, 50,000, £50 a month. Um, marketing, marketing is usually split into two. So you've got your ad spend that you spend on the platform, and then you have to hire the agency to run it for you. Yes, you can do it yourself, but you can burn through a lot of money trying to do something that you don't understand. And then it will take you quite a long time. So sometimes I say leave some things to the professional. So like the marketing and also the website part of it, I'm like just outsource it. But otherwise it does cost quite a lot. I know once I was running some ads with my private clinic on Google, and I was paying the agency. It was quite reasonable. It was £1,000 because they said £2,000 to begin with, and I was like, can't afford that. So it was £1,000 per month. They locked me in for 3 months. Usually it's a 6 month lock in, and then you have to pay £1,000 a month on top of that for ad spend. So you're paying around £2,000 a month initially. Time to launch, I thought the hair 3 to 6 months in order to get like the CQC, but it's more sort of 6 to 9 months. So just remember, your initial costs and your ongoing costs. I did do a survey and I was asking a few people, okay, how like some of the clinic owners that had launched, on their own, and somebody said that especially when they got their private practice and they're in a physical location, it was about £100,000 to launch. That was the initial cost, which is actually not affordable for a lot of us. So even though we are really passionate about patient care and we want to launch our services and we want to work flexibly, £100,000 is just way out of reach. Some people were saying, okay, if it was online, they could do it for around 15 to £30,000. But our one, we put our fees in the chat because I don't want to say it on this because it's going to be on YouTube and it can change, and it has changed um, with time. Okay, so when is the best way to start? We're back to catchphrase. When is the best, should I say, best way to start, best time to start? And this catchphrase, just say what you see. Say what you see. Because some
Okay,
people,
while the sun shines.
yes, make hay. You're very good at this, Chisel. Make hay when while the sun shines. So, so the best time to start is now. I always say don't plan for what's happening at the moment. Plan for what you see is happening. So by the time it happens, you're already in a good position. You're already established to be able to manage that service. So make sure when you start building your clinic, because it takes quite a long time to start. Some of the doctors haven't started seeing patients yet because actually the marketing takes a long time for you to launch a website and then for Google to recognize it as like a website and understand what you're offering on your website and then put it into the Google ranking. It does take around 3 to 6 months for Google to recognize it. So you can't just launch and expect you to be on Google page one. It takes a long time. Compliance takes a long time. A lot of the GPs are not doing this full time. If you're not doing it full time, then you can think, okay, if I launch now, it might take me about 4 months to get my first patient because your attention is diverted. If you're doing it full time, every day you're thinking about it. Every hour you're thinking, oh, what can I do for marketing? You're posting here, there, and everywhere. And it's a lot quicker. It is a lot quicker, but actually, people can't just jump ship and give up their NHS jobs and then just do private practice. They have to kind of manage it side by side. So it's really important to, when if this offer or this service is here, it's really important just to go for it. Make hay whilst the sun shines because we might be oversubscribed. We had a wait list and we had to just increase our quota. So the best time to start is now. I say if you're not embarrassed about your first product, you've launched too late. So don't agonize about it. Some GPs are perfectionists, and I say just done is better than perfect. I mean, with me, what is interesting is because as I'm building this company, the GPs on our platform are watching me build this company while I'm watching them build their companies. So I say, done is better than perfect. I'm on version 5 of the GP contract. And that could never happen if I just, I would never get the feedback from the GP if I just waited and agonized over every tiny detail. And, because when you launch, people will tell you what they want. You might think, oh, I know exactly what people want. But actually, people talk with their feet and their wallets. So they'll tell you actually, okay, no, can you do this or this will be better if you uh, offer this service, etc. So if you're not embarrassed about your first product, you've looked too late because you just spent too much time agonizing over small details. Okay, so there is a demand for GPs. We want you to help patients by doing what you love when you want, working on your terms. So these are our details. If you want to contact us, our WhatsApp number is there. You can call me, have a chat. You can register directly onto the Uber service at app.thanksdoc.co.uk, and you can see all the compliance documents. You can see it's live. We just say don't pay any subscriptions until we've given you the thumbs up that your compliance is sorted, and that's for the Uber Doctor platform. And we're launching that. It's launched already, but we're launching that standalone probably in about 3 months. But actually, if you come on board with our private clinic membership, you get automatic access to it. So I am happy to take questions, and I will go to the chat as well because I can see some activity happening there. Let me stop my share. And let me have a look at the questions. But feel free to shout out at me. You guys have been pretty quiet. Excellent. Okay, demo site, you've got that in our branding for our, so this is some of the questions I'm reading out. So in our branding for our business, do we use ThanksDoc branding, or would we be naming our own business, which is powered by ThanksDoc? I asked because I already have my own business name and website. Yeah, so that's a really good question. So you won't be using our branding. It will be your branding. So your branding almost acts like a landing page, but actually all the back end is by us. So the booking link back end is by us. You'll say, regulated services by ThanksDoc, and it'll go to our website. Terms and conditions are our terms and conditions, so they're not your own. Privacy policies are links to our privacy policy. So when you actually go on our website, you'll see clinics, and if you have a look at some of the websites on the clinics page of our website, you'll see how their website is done. So it is their branding, but when you look at the footer, you'll see powered by ThanksDoc, terms and conditions, privacy policy, this and that, and it all links back to us because we have to have that same infrastructure and be on the same page for the patients. So yeah, it can be your branding and your own website, but some of the infrastructure links back to us. Okay, so what does that mean for a 6-month period? So it's a package of 6 months. So you can split your payments via Klarna, but actually we don't offer less than a 6-month package, because what we see is that the GPs will start and really enthusiastic, and then by month 2 they're, we're not getting any patients. That's absolutely normal. Like, you don't start and get patients straight away. Some people are some people don't even finish uploading their compliance in 2 months, and then they start to drop off. And I said, no, to give it a good chance, you need to give a business at least a year in order to try and see, okay, is there something here? Is it working? Do I enjoy doing this? So we have to provide this package, this membership for 6 months. So it's that price for a 6-month period. So every 6 months, that's the price you're paying. Can you do minor procedures? Yes. So our indemnity covers minor procedures, but also it just depends on, to make sure, because how we do the location. So you have to pick your location that actually is adequate for minor procedures. With GPs, I used to work in a GP practice, and they would do the minor procedures in their consultation room. So like if it's like mole removal or something like that, or cyst removal, so they'll do it in their consultation room. So as long as actually it's a general consultation room, and when you sign the contract or when you choose a location, you need that location to sign the contract, because that location would say we're responsible for infection control, because you can't really chop off someone's mole or just throw it in like a general waste bin. So they have to actually say, okay, we are responsible for getting rid of the clinical waste. We are responsible for infection control. We are responsible for X, Y, and Z. So there is a contract with some of the locations if you're doing minor surgery and minor procedures. So, but yes, you can do it under ThanksDoc. I was looking at the compliance, and it says that there's a month fee for maintaining compliance. So that's the Uber Doctor platform. So this one is the one that I said it might launch in about 3 months, and that fee may increase, but it's mostly the compliance fee. So it's actually like a subsidized indemnity fee. and we can get it for that sort of subsidized rate because of the numbers. But we're not actually launching the Uber Doctors platform to everybody at the current moment. It's just for the doctors that are on our membership. Are the rules around using a GP practice room for private consultations if you're not being charged for room usage? Are there rules around using a GP practice room for private consultations if you're not being charged for room usage? Not quite sure what this one means. So I don't think there's rules around using the GP because I'm not sure whether you mean NHS because with NHS rooms you can't use them for private practice because there's conflict of interest. So if you're an NHS GP, you can't use that NHS site to work privately. Is that what you mean? Otherwise, if you're talking about charges and private consultations, there's not anything that I've heard of unless there's something that you've heard of that you want to share with us. But actually, it just depends on who you have an agreement, who owns the room, who you have an agreement with. Yes, Sammy, you can definitely just shout out. I can see your hand raised.
Yes, I
Yeah.
just wanted to ask you about the B2B, B2C model. So is it that you actually find patients for us and forward them to us, or if you can explain that a bit more, please?
Yeah, really good question. So we don't. So for your private clinic membership, no, we don't find the patients for you. It's basically your own business, so you have to find your patients. When we're doing the Uber doctor model, we actually work with pharmacies. So what happens is sometimes the patient can't see their GP. So what they do is tend to wander into the pharmacy and say, "Oh, I got this wrong." The pharmacies can say, "Actually, we don't manage that, but you can call ThanksDoc, or you can go through this private GP." So that's why we've actually we were exhibiting at the pharmacy show and we spoke to a lot of pharmacists and they're happy to kind of signpost patients to our services. So that's the only way we will find patients for you, but that's on the Uber Doctor platform and not the private practice. And the reason why that's different is the Uber Doctor platform, like Uber, we take a percentage of everything you make. So we take 10% of what you're making because we find the patients and that's how we kind of put that fee into finding that patient. So that's how we work. But not with a private membership. You have to unfortunately find your own patients, which is quite which is the hardest bit of any business Um thank you. Oh, we can see it if you minimize the symbol. Sorry, I saw that too late. Do we set up our own prices for services? Yes, you do. So you do set your own prices for your services. So on our platform, all the services are still booked through us because we still need sort of oversight and overhead. And if you're booking through something else and taking payments, then that contract between who's paying you means there's a contract between you and that person. And that means you have to come under your own CQC because it's you're a completely separate entity. They're paid into a separate business. So we actually have a booking link, a personal booking link for you. So you'll have your website, patients will say, book here, and they'll see your service. So on our platform, there's a way that you can set up your services and put a price. So you can say online consultation, £75. And so when patients actually click on online consultation on your website, they'll see the £75. It gets paid to us, and then you invoice us, and then we can pay you minus the transaction fee. So payment processing platform, they might charge 0.1% or whatever it is. So we'll pay you minus those fees. But yes, you can set your own services and also prices. From the GPs who have started, what is the demand like for private GP clinics? How many patients are being seen per day, and is their list full? Okay, good question. So I mentioned before that the GPs are all the GPs are doing this almost like a side hustle. So they've got their full-time NHS jobs and they're trying to start up privately on the side. So a lot of the GP, some of them, the ones that started I think 3 of them still haven't gone through the compliance out of 9 from the first cohort that was in September. So the compliance is an issue because they just haven't got the time to focus on it. And life happens, life is life. And so they have like families, they have like the NHS practice, things are going on in the background. So we'll say like 25% haven't sorted their compliance, and that would be 3 months later. Some of them have sorted their compliance, but not their websites. Some of them have sorted compliance on the website and some, trying to find someone who can help them market, or are they're just trying to market. So I would say out, and then what's interesting is actually the second cohort have come on and they're like they're like going for it. I don't know, they just seem to be like a different bunch. So one of the cohorts, they're launching a health tech platform. So it's not really like a standard GP practice. It's actually a health tech platform. So they've actually already started. The patient list is definitely not full. With this type of service, we don't expect you to be full. We expect you to have maybe one patient a week after the first 2 months. And that's the reality of it. People feel like, oh, I'll launch, build it and they will come. It doesn't happen that way, not with patients, and not with healthcare, unless you've already partnered with someone to have a steady stream of patients coming to you. So for our GP, so there might be around 30 GPs now from cohort 1 and cohort 2. It's definitely not full. It's not even up to 50% full for their clinics. So it's not like they've got a whole 2 or 3 days where they're filled with patients. It might be the odd patient here, there, and everywhere. And that's why we've launched it, because actually we know that you're not going to have patients to begin with. But if you launch on your own, you've got all those overheads and that upfront cost, but still the patient demand is the same. You're still getting one patient a week. So can you imagine paying, 2,000 a month or 5,000 a month, and you get one patient that's paying you £150? Like, you literally like, oh my god, and people just shut down. Like, so that's why actually it's better to test with us and build your patient list with us, and then once you're established, go it alone, because we're not here for established clinics. It's not part of our business model, and it actually will push our indemnity very high, because our indemnity is based on an average of sessions that the GPs are doing collectively. Because we're like almost like, it's like corporate indemnity. So if there's one GP that's doing 5 days a week or 7 days a week and really push up the indemnity, and we'll have to say, oh, actually, can you? I think it's time that you get your own CQC and your own indemnity. So yeah, so it's definitely not full. No. So being seen per day is probably per week, one a week on average, 1 to 2 a week. For face-to-face sessions privately, are we paying pharmacies or clinics to use their room? How does it work? Yes. So we're just focused on the private clinics. I'm not going to talk about the Uber doctors. So if you want to do face-to-face sessions, you will source your own clinic, and you can pay them to use their room. So in central London, when I went around and I said, oh, can our GPs use your room for an hour when they've got a patient booked in? They said, yeah, that's fine. We charge £20 an hour or £15 an hour. So someone's in like a physiotherapy clinic, someone's, I think, has a partnership with a gym. So you can just basically negotiate your own rate, depending on who the clinic owner is. And pharmacies are good because the clinic owner is usually the pharmacist. Can you work from home as a private GP? What kind of equipment does one need to get going? So yes, you can work from home. Right. So if you want to work online, if that's what you mean, so you can do it on online work and just have your computer. All our software is cloud-based. So all of the security is via cloud-based. So our servers are all based in the UK. We do penetration testing. So this is almost people trying to hack, like it's called ethical hacking. So hacking to our system to see actually are there any breaches. So everything is on the cloud. It's almost like using EMIS Web. That you can log in when when you get your laptops, and you can log in from home, but it's just cloud based. So you can work as a private GP from home, or you can work as a private GP from home doing home visits as well. I do occupation medicals already, have my own booking platform embedded in my own. Is there an option to run it using our own booking platform? So good question. So unfortunately, not, because we need governance over everything everyone is doing. So we need to be able to look in the notes at any time. So if you have your own booking platform, because sometimes the booking platform, some people don't realize that actually if they start to ask questions on their booking platforms, like what is your issue, and someone puts like, oh, heart attack, that now becomes triage. That now, once you start to gain clinical information, it now becomes triage. And some people don't realize that, but a patient can then come and start to sue to say, actually, I booked in with a heart attack and no one came back to me until 2 days later, and this happened. So that's why actually even the booking platform needs to make sure that we have oversight over even what questions you're asking on your booking. So with the booking platform, we only ask for booking details. So your name, date of birth, or whatever. So patient information details and not clinical information. So it's really important that you don't really ask for clinical information, especially like free text information where the patient can just kind of freely write in a box. If you're asking for clinical information, it should be things that are already pre-selected. So yes, it's for testosterone replacement therapy, or yes, it's a menopause consultation, but not something that the patient can just write on their own, because then you get into trouble if you don't have eyes on those forms coming in all the time. So not with your own booking platform, I'm afraid, at this point. Been trying to make a note of that, all using all the routes to get started, but I assume you've been really busy. So sorry, Ella. Yes, we are going to put the link for sign up in terms of the deposit link. So if you just message me on our WhatsApp number and just say yes, it was me. I mentioned you in the webinar. So and I'll give you you're the first person I'm going to give the link to sign up. So and then or we can have a chat about it. How much do you charge patients for consultations? What average take home per session? Session runs on 4 hours. So we don't charge patients when I'm talking about the private clinic membership. So it's up to the doctor what they want to charge. You see some doctors charging £45 per 15-minute online consultation. Some doctors are actually charging £130. So really, it just depends on what you want to charge. But don't go too low, because when you go too low, people start to think, is there something wrong with it? Unless you're getting, and also you don't want to just do a one-off consultation for £45 and kind of revolve your whole day around that one-off consultation. So it just depends on it's all trial and error. You can start off at offering it £45. You can creep up a little bit, and it's also that's what we do. We started off offering it at X amount, and then we've crept up slow when we realised actually our overheads are not covered. And if we continue like this, we'll be out of business. So sometimes you think, okay, I'm just sort of put a price there, but then you realize actually when you do the maths, you need to adjust it a little bit. So yeah, so in terms of what the average charge is, it depends on you. And to begin with, you're not going to get that many patients. You're not going to do a full 4-hour session back to back with patients. Private practice is completely different. So, but you do need to start somewhere. So this is the best way that you can start. And usually it does take about a year. I think even when my one was a bit different, because my one was just skin when I was treating skin in Harley Street. So I think it took me about a year before I had like a Saturday full of 8 patients. And that was from me trying to get the patients. When I worked in aesthetics, so I did Botox and fillers, I actually worked in a hairdressing salon. It's a bit random, but she booked my patients in. So from day one, I had 6 patients, and that was around about like £4,000 for just that one day for like 4 or 5 hours. So it just depends. If you partner with someone and you have a steady stream of patients coming in, that's different. You can hit the ground running. If you're doing your own marketing, it's a lot of work, and a lot of a lot of you guys are time poor because you're doing your normal GP practice jobs. You have families, you have other distractions going on. So yeah, it just depends on average how much you take home. So we already have a premises ready, which is used by an NHS. Can we use our premises with your services? The room is vacant. So we have a mobile doctor service. So we don't register locations, even though we have to notify the CQC of the locations that we're in. So they have an idea of where we are. So we don't register locations in the sense that, CQC doesn't come and say, okay, is the sink this way? Does it have this type of tab? Okay, is the sharp spin like this? No, we don't register the locations. So we're more of a mobile service. So, sometimes when you, for example, like, and I always use this analogy, when you do a home visit, you're still going into a premises, but that person's home is not CQC regulated. It's just, you're just doing a consultation in a place that you're using temporarily. So we're like temporary locations. So we don't register locations and say, oh, we're here full time. So yes, you can still use that location, but you only use it when you have patients booked in. You're not there like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And it's not like you offer walk-in services, because again, walk-in services implies that there's going to be someone there constantly, because if someone stumbles in from the street coming into a GP practice thinking that there's going to be a GP and they have like, central crushing chest pain and nobody is there, then again, there's questions to answer, and it's kind of frowned upon. So we have to make sure that actually our locations are temporary, and the GP is only there when a patient has been booked in. For the minor procedures, is there a contract with a histopathology lab? So yeah, we have we're partnered with Randox Health. Randox Health do have a charge every month, but we absorb that. So that's one of actually, I should have said that was one of the overheads if you're going it alone, because they do charge, I can't remember off the top of my head, but maybe 150, 175 pounds per month to use their labs. And actually, they're really good, and they make these kind of nice presentations for patients. So let's say patient does, I don't know, cholesterol. So if their cholesterol is raised, it'll say, "Oh, this is your cholesterol. It's been raised. These are the things you can do to lower it." So they actually have a nice patient report. So we're partnered with Randox. I think they do histopathology. No one has asked that. I'm going to double check. That's a good question. I'll get back to you. Just message me on WhatsApp, Law, and I'll get back to you personally. But I think they do histopathology. Okay, from Dr. Caroline. I am a general practitioner and not a GP. Okay. We are into skincare and currently have our own products and would like to have a private practice on skincare. How feasible is that with ourselves? Yeah, so that is different. I think skincare can come under aesthetics unless you're doing like medical stuff, like you're prescribing patients and diagnosing and doing different things. If you're saying a skincare line, then you'll need product. You'll need product liability because you've produced this skincare, this bottle of serum or whatever it is. Nobody knows what's in it, so it has to be checked and it has to go kind of through the process of the cosmetics industry just to make sure that it is, all okay. So we don't actually cover products. So you wouldn't be able to issue your skincare to patients under us because you'll need your own products, and we can't because we're not sure what it is, what's in it. And I'm sure it's very, very good. That goes under a different. So you might have to get your product liability. I don't know whether you probably have it already. Otherwise, you might need to have a separate chat and just think of a workaround around that. So yes, you can do it. You might be able to get away with it via aesthetics, which you don't need CQC for, so you don't have to come under us. But if you're doing medical things, so you're diagnosing conditions like eczema, acne, whatever it is, rosacea, then you'd need probably CQC. What's the next step for anyone who wants to sign up? So you can just message us on WhatsApp. We will send you the link once there's enough people. So once we've hit our quota, the link automatically deactivates. So the link basically allows you to pay for your deposit. And then after you pay for the deposit, then we have an interview. So we just kind of have a chat with you, see what you're trying to start up. If it doesn't fall into what we offer, so if there's an issue, like for example, you want to start up something and it might just be like, okay, I prescribe cannabis or something and we don't offer that, then we'll refund your deposit. But once actually we have this interview with you and everything is all okay, then you can come on board. And once you pay the rest of the remaining balance, then you start. And the next cohort is starting on the 1st of February. So even if you pay your deposit now, you can actually start your compliance. It just gives you more time. The next cohort would be going live on the 1st of February. Can it just be a regular GP clinic? Yes, a lot of them have regular GP clinics. I just say that if you're doing a regular GP clinic, just make sure that you know how you're getting your patients, because regular GP clinics sometimes don't do so good with marketing because people just think regular GP private clinics are the same as their NHS clinics. So, oh, well, I can just see my NHS GP for free. So sometimes when you do menopause clinic, even though GPs offer that in NHS, patients see it differently. They see it as like, I don't know, like a consultant-led service or whatever it is. So as long as you know how you're marketing and you've got a way of acquiring patients, then that's absolutely fine, because people that open regular GP clinics and then they put it on Google, there's a lot of competition and there's hardly any difference between this GP clinic or this GP clinic to patients. So you can spend a lot of money marketing, and that's one of the reasons people go out of business, because they launch it and they advertise on Google. They're selling their GP consultations, let's say, for £70, but they're spending a lot of money just to get that patient, and that patient's only there for, I don't know, their chest infection. So that patient isn't coming again and again and again because it's just a regular GP clinic. That patient just might need a one-off acute service. So you spend a lot of money to acquire that patient, and that patient is just sort of lost afterwards. So just know where you're getting your stream of patients. Can you please send me a recording of this meeting? as I missed it. Yes, I think we're going to be putting it on YouTube, and it usually comes on around 2 weeks later. I know I need to get better at that, but it's on our YouTube channel, and our YouTube channel is at ThanksDoc UK. So at ThanksDoc UK, if you sign up and subscribe, you'll always get like a notification when we post a new video. What's the best way to start up? I've tried to contact ThanksDoc. Sorry, Mita. I'm going to go through my messages. I know I have a lot of messages that I have to catch up with because I'm like trying to manage like two GP cohorts and like the pharmacies and a million things. So somehow sometimes the messages get buried. So I apologize for that, Mita. Just send me another message so that you come up to the top, and then I can send you the registration link. Don't the room clinic need to be seeking to? How would that apply at a gym? I think I mentioned this one. That's a good question. I think I covered this one, but if I haven't, just repeat it. So yeah, so we are temporary locations. The rooms don't need to be CQC compliant because we're temporary. Sometimes you can even see some GPs going to corporate offices. So the offices aren't actually CQC compliant, but they're just, providing, I don't know, health checks in, a corporate office. So because we're a mobile service, we're not like a fixed service at a fixed location. So our headquarters is everything is managed online. So we don't have like a fixed location to say, oh, we're based in this address in London and everything has to be done in this address. No, we're actually online. So we have actually all our compliance and our governance is done online. And we do a mobile service like home visiting or going to corporate offices or going to a pharmacy location when there's a patient. So that's why it's not really like a fixed location. It's actually like a temporary location. And that's how it would apply to a gym. A gym has lots of rooms. I think Nuffield Health also has GPs in some of their rooms. So when I say gym, it's not it's not like I should have clarified. It's not like you're in the sauna section of the gym. It's actually some gyms have rooms for physiotherapy, whatever massage therapy or whatever, and those are the rooms that you can use and hire out. So do the rooms we use have to meet specific requirements? So on the contract, it does say in terms of the locations what it needs to have. So the location contract will say, I'm going to this location. I have public liability insurance. So if anyone trips over in my premises and bashes their head and tries to sue, they're not suing us or the GP. They're suing the owner of that premises. So that premises should have actually made sure that their carpets don't have rips and tears in. So actually, there's specific requirements that ThanksDoc needs from the clinic, but they're not the CQC requirement because it's not a CQC regulated room. It's actually a temporary location that we're using. So, for example, it would say for pharmacies, for example, it would say, "Oh, do you have access to emergency medications?" So, for example, if someone has like a hypoglycemia, do you have access to this medication? Or if someone has an anaphylaxis, do you have access to that medication? So it would actually, there's specific criteria that they have to meet for ThanksDoc, but they're not CQC criteria. Thank you for joining us. What about home visits? Yes, you can do home visits. Home visits come under the sort of lone worker policy. So we have a policy for people doing home visits because, of course, you can go to somebody's house and disappear and never to be heard of again. So we have to make sure that actually you have a buddy system. So you always tell somebody when you're doing a home visit. We also track your location with our GPS system. So when you go into somewhere, if you're not out of there by an hour, then we're going to have to send the police there. So if I'm not in the location like London, I can go there myself. But if I can't get there, we're going to send the police there. So we're either going to call your buddy to say, do you know where this GP is? They've gone to this location. They haven't, they're still in that location. So we don't know whether you're being held hostage or what's happening there. So yes, you can do home visits. And we do have like a lone worker policy just to make sure that you're safe because we're not sure in terms of whose home you're visiting. And even though we do home visit, the NHS is different because we always come back for clinics afterwards. So we know that, everyone knows that you're safe and you're back from that home visit. But here we've got a lot of GPs that we're managing and you're not coming back to a base. So we have to have robust measures in place. So that's also GPS tracking to know which patients home you've gone to, tell your buddy and your next of kin. And then if you're not out by a certain time, then we start to call you. If you're not answering, then the police it gets sent through. Are we able to see summary care record of patients? Yes, you can see the summary care Or do you mean like that? So sorry, I'll get you confused. So not NHS, we're not connected to the NHS, and we don't have sort of GP Connect or any access to NHS. Sometimes if you wanted to see the summary care record of patients, you can ask the patient to bring their NHS app so you can have a look through their records. But we don't have summary care records or access to the NHS. But someone's asked about the WhatsApp number. Chuck, are you able just to put the WhatsApp number on the chat just so they have it there? Because I think I left it on my last slide, but I just realized actually I've just closed my presentation, so that's not helpful. So yeah, we'll put that in the chat. The skincare, if you want to discuss skincare, I love everything skincare. So I could talk for ages about skincare. So yeah, happy to talk to you about skincare. If we start off with one particular, did I miss anything? Oh, sorry, I think I missed somebody. Oh my gosh. I would ideally be doing private GP home visits. Already was planning this extensively, so have idea all set up. Very good, very good. You're ready to hit the ground running. I plan to have another GP also in case I'm away. Good. We always say that. Always have like somebody else, and they can join our platform. It will be half the price of what you're paying. So there's always like a lead GP that has their clinic. But if you want to hire anybody else under you, then they'll have to pay, and it will still include indemnity and everything else. But it'll be half the price of what was posted in the chat. Would they be able to be part of the business? Yes. Would they pay? Yes, 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 yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. Oh, so oh my gosh, I missed a lot of questions. Which clinical system do you use? So we use our own bespoke one. So with the electronic records platform, we use our own bespoke one because the other ones, they are costing around £200 or £210 per month, which is not really scalable for us. So we built our own ones, and you're able to email the GPs from it. You're able to put alerts on the system. You're able to email the patient. You're able to book directly and book online consultations. And there's sort of GDPR compliant sort of video platform, etc. So you're able to do all that, and then use have a booking calendar and use the booking link to book your patient straight into your diary. So we use our own clinical system. Okay, fine. I think that was it. Are we able to see summary care records of patient? Okay, we mentioned that. Yes, so you can start off with one service and then add on something else. And that's what we encourage. It's better to test with us than go it alone, test with test on your own, and spend loads of money and then realize actually it's something not for you. So yeah, you can do one service, add on lots of different services, because it's just about updating your website, and as long as it's like a GP service, then it's fine. If it's something weird and wonderful, then you might just need to sort of run it past me, and I'll say sort of yay or nay. If it's something like cannabis tested or things that we don't do. But a lot of people start with just general GP because that covers everything. Do you use TDL for investigations? We use Randox. We're open to other people, but right now we just need to keep it all with one provider. And that's because usually, I'm the named person for any urgent results. So if there's anything urgent, they phone it through to me. And so when there's lots of different providers, sometimes it can get a bit much. So I tend to have just one platform. So we don't use TDL. We use Randox Health. Randox Health is good because they've partnered with Holland and Barrett, so they have lots of different sites across the UK that people can go to. They can also send through home blood testing kits. So that's the finger prick test, but also the kind of the capillary one where you put this suction pad on you and you can get lots and lots of blood, and you can see all their what they offer and their price list, etc. So, sorry about. I think I just mumbled through about the summary care records. So yeah, we don't have access to NHS records at all, or NHS summary care records. It's something that we're looking to in the future. But anytime we access NHS records, then we have to have different compliance as well, and sort of the NHS kind of cybersecurity program. We have to go on that. So we don't have access to that at the moment. I think that was it. Do you support someone that wants to do video consultations work from home? Yes, we do. We do that. So we most people are doing working from home and online doctors only because it's just easier around their sort of work-life balance. And actually sometimes it can be a bit draining when you get a location. So even with me, when I did my skin clinic, of course I had to with COVID, I had to kind of just go online. And actually, I made more money and saw more patients being online and advertising as an online service and prescribing and sending people the medication through the post than actually having a location. So automatically the overheads were halved because I didn't have to pay business rates and all of this rent, etc. And also I didn't have to commute to a location. So it was just so much easier just having, and I could just say, yeah, just book it anytime. So sometimes online is an easier way to start. So we do support that. Okay, and I think that is it. I think I have rambled on. When did we say? Oh my gosh, for 90 minutes. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. You've got the phone number, the WhatsApp number. Otherwise, visit our website, thanksdoc.co.uk. We've got a WhatsApp number that goes straight to me. I think Chuck, you can just put our website um in the link. And yeah, I'm grateful for all of you attending and for all of you being patient enough to stay for the whole 90 minutes. Any questions, then just message me and I look forward to talking to you. Thank you.